Every once in a while, an unassuming game comes out of the works and just exceeds expectations. Stellar Blade's initial takes were nothing short of impressive since the demo was first released and even sparked a number of controversies leading up to launch. We won't be talking about that today, but I suppose it's pretty easy to get caught up in the obvious takes involving the amount of ladders, ropes, and even the unlockables in this game. But we definitely wouldn't be scratching the surface of what Stellar Blade truly has to offer. Welcome to Power Up Gamers, everyone. My name is Rice, and here are 5 things about Stellar Blade that surprised me. While this might be an odd one to start with, this game has some incredible music, which certainly elevated my experience. I found myself just listening to the soundtrack pretty extensively, specifically upon activating campsites, exploring Zion, as well as traversing each region's open zones. There's definitely no shortage of background tunes and soothing melodies while immersing into this uncanny world. Not to mention how music intensifies upon encountering boss fights. And equally so, chills out when you're wanting to rest. Also, K-pop fans, if you haven't checked out the Stellar Blade BB collaboration, do it. The full video will be linked in the description, but here's a clip if you haven't seen it. I do enjoy these types of collaborations in gaming because different expressions of art that may not otherwise collide can coexist in a space to create community. And this was a cool way to do that. So more of this, please. So if you end up playing this game, take some time to really listen in on what's playing in the background. It's a really great time. I thought this game looked really stunning. The contrast between the deserts and the dilapidated tech scene around Zion and the mystery around the underground areas, it was just a cool juxtaposition of old and new, or rather the new world versus a once modern society. One thing that really stood out was creature design. The Naytiba are the enemies that you'll encounter, and they are no joke. They're creepy, they're grotesque, and they pack a punch if you're not careful. It kind of remind me of the crew on the Flying Dutchman from Pirates 3, except worse. And there's a bunch of different kinds, like the absolute worst looking family tree you'll ever witness. Look at how many designs there are. This, that, this. Ugh. Anyway, Stellar Blade presents a variety of enemy types and aesthetics that keep you on your toes or have you going bleh the whole time while you're fighting them. Despite how gross these things made me feel, I also couldn't help but commend the creativity in their design. And that's why this is on this list. Bleh. Now, the story, lore, and world building in Stellar Blade is definitely worth noting. While the story isn't anything new, it was really fun to see it through. It's one thing to appreciate the cutscenes and the foundation they provide in an overarching narrative, but what I'd like to highlight is the world building that's done outside of the inherently obvious. I found the smaller bits of lore were meaningful and relatable, which drew me into the world that Eve was discovering for herself. Anything that breeds curiosity and enhances the player's experience is welcome. That type of attention to detail needs to be applauded in the stories that we're engaging in. Fulfilling a side story from bulletin boards gives players a sense of what kinds of characters exist in this world, and allows you to connect with them or even question why some things are the way that they are in this bleak reality. So, make sure to investigate wherever and whenever you can in order to get the full story experience of the game. This was probably my favorite part of the game for a few different reasons. First of all, fighting monsters is fun, and in Stellar Blade, battling the Naytiba was a blast. Combat animations are super flashy, pretty reminiscent of what you would see in an epic anime fight. Controls are satisfying in that they're responsive and they feel super rewarding when done right. The skill tree and character progression is scaled really nicely, and it doesn't feel like you have to sink hours or grind for days to level up. The game starts to really get fun once you've unlocked all skill trees and upgraded your weapon core quite a bit. I also really loved using the drone in several circumstances that welcomed ranged attacks. Also, shooting stuff is really fun too. Combat difficulty is fair and can get pretty intense at times, especially when fighting a boss or if you're caught off guard. I died quite a bit, but I wasn't overly frustrated with trying some encounters a few times. Part of the fun is learning those enemy patterns and improving your dexterity in consecutive tries. Whether you prefer close quarters or ranged attacks, I think the game has something for everyone. And even with those two approaches, there's a variety of ways to go about it. And last but not least, the ongoing development of Stellar Blade keeps the game pretty fresh. Now, recently they added new content like Boss Challenge Mode, which is something that I absolutely love. It lets you revisit exciting fights at any difficulty level and record your time. So this incentivizes the player to become more efficient in their boss fights. It's also a super fun way to fight these bosses upon completing the story with all of your upgrades and skill progression. Plus, there's great news for PC players. A PC port is on the way and a sequel is being planned. Since the game's release and consequently stellar reviews, it'll be interesting to see how developers continue to expand and improve the game, not to mention making this franchise even bigger. So there you have it, folks. 5 things about Stellar Blade that surprised me. It is a must play. You need to check it out for these 5 reasons and more. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Until next time, happy gaming.